Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to do something a little bit different, where I'm going to talk about what features I want to see implemented into Total War Warhammer 3. So without further ado, let's begin. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to use the fan-made world map as a main background. Trust me, this has got some relevance. So let's just jump right in. Firstly, obviously I and many other players would like to see a full world map being implemented for the final grand campaign of the series. This is not in a way to justify the possibility of Cathay, Ind and Nippon as possible race packs, but instead just to see the Warhammer fantasy world being realized in such an epic scale that has never been done before. Obviously, a map of this scale would also present the opportunity for more and more DLC, specifically that of cross-game DLC, where we can see many characters still missing from Game 1 and Game 2's races implemented in the third and final game of the series. Which brings me to my second point. I want to see more legendary characters being implemented into the game via the form of cross-game DLC. Obviously, we're not going to get this early on into the lifespan of Game 3, as they'll need to place focus on whoever the four main playable races will be, but there are many fan-favourite characters which have yet to be implemented at the time of recording this video. Characters such as Marius Leitdorf, the Elector Count of Aveland, a personal favourite of mine of course, the Vampire Queen Neferata, among many others. It would be a total shame if characters such as these were never added into the series, not only for their impact in lore, some of them quite major characters and some of them are quite minor, but more in the case of having representation and different playstyles across the board. Seeing as this is the final game of the series, they can easily milk cross-game DLC, especially if one of the main factions for Total War Warhammer 3 are the Demons of Chaos. The Demons of Chaos themselves have the most massive amount of possible playable characters, and a lot of their lore is centered around incursions against races already established into the Total War franchise. So there are a lot of cross-game possibilities just through this. Some examples would be Slaneshi Demons versus High Elves. This is a rivalry that we know very well of. Oxyotl the Chameleon Skink versus any Forces of Chaos, or pretty much any Demon of Tzeentch, which are known to try and mess around with the mortal races on a daily basis. While we're on the topic of DLC, racial reworks have to be implemented in a faster pace. Seeing as the races in Total War Warhammer 2 were so drastically different from those of Total War Warhammer 1, it can be assumed that any races being implemented for the third and final game of the series will also have their unique features, and thus be very drastically different from both. So if that is indeed the case, then potentially all the races from Game 1 and Game 2 would have to receive a faction rework in order to bring them more in line with the races from Game 3. As it currently stands, we normally receive a faction rework once every 2 DLCs, which whilst it was a slow format, it was still better than nothing. However, that was the case when it was just the Game 1 races. If the races from Game 2 are brought into the equation, there needs to be a faster format. It's just not going to be enough. A lot of the races are going to be falling behind fairly quickly, thus being made unplayable or just really weak compared to other races. I'm not saying in the form of faster DLC releases. Obviously we are aware that they can't just shell out a Warhammer DLC every month, as they have many active titles at the moment which also need to receive their own forms of downloadable content. But minor changes here and there when patches release would be much better for us. That being said, that takes us to our next point, a faster patch release. Okay, so patches in Total War Warhammer history have been very slow, with the case that they'll go into beta and just stay there until, well, it's actually pretty hard to determine when a patch will drop, to be honest. It's mostly in the case that it'll stay in limbo for quite a amount of time, and yeah, they say that they're working on it and they do patch the beta patch, but it's not really getting the main game live. As of the time of recording this video, we're about, 2 months after the release of The Warden and the Paunch? Which on average is around half the life cycle of a normal DLC before a new one is released. That shouldn't really be the case. If there's problems, it should be fixed. Patch cycles definitely need to be improved. Next is a fix of the diplomacy system, which really doesn't need a lot of video time here, because to be honest, and I think most of you would agree, if they just copy-pasted the system implemented in Three Kingdoms, or at least were very heavily inspired by it, that would solve a lot of problems. But now we'll look towards something that does need a lot of attention, and this is something which is heavily requested not only by YouTubers but by the general player base: a better siege system. Sieges, for some reason, are downright horrible in Total War Warhammer. Why is that? I have no idea. If you take into consideration that some games have been released after the Warhammer series officially kicked off, Thrones of Britannia, Three Kingdoms, and soon to be Troy, the sieges are quite good. We've seen the ones in Troy with CA official footage, Three Kingdom sieges are to the standard that you can expect, and hell, even Thrones of Britannia, which to be honest wasn't even that good, seems to have a better siege system and general battle system than Total War Warhammer, which is a massive shame considering how well the Warhammer series has been doing. A complete overhaul is needed. This is not only including unique maps, but also different formats of sieges and new mechanics. Warhammer Fantasy had its own siege warfare books, which had a lot of different mechanics that could be easily implemented into the game. Stuff like unique types of towers, different mechanics for different races, and so on. Just some needed new flavor, especially when it comes to mid to late game, where sieges are the most common form of warfare. That being said, they can also work around the standard battle map system too, and the basic settlement warfare map. I mean, all of them have this system where it's just reskin maps over reskins. Once again, I don't know why a big name title like Total War Warhammer, which is one of the most unique titles they've ever released, is running off reskins and reskins. Reskin sieges and settlements and reskin battle maps in general. Total War Warhammer 3 would be the perfect time to fix this. Now, I've pretty much spent all this time talking about stuff that is more or less essential for Total War Warhammer 3. Now let's talk about some minor stuff I'd like to see implemented in the third and final game of the series. The first being a weather system. Yes, it's not the most impressive thing to actually add it into a list, but a weather system, especially for a thematic sense, is quite needed. I mean, look at it right now. If you're playing Total War Warhammer, you'll notice that most of the maps are just bright and sunny days no matter where you are. This does not make sense for a grim, dark fantasy world. Adding in basic weather like rain, fog, storms, and even night battles would make the lack of unique maps actually more enjoyable, because at least you have some different visuals to it. If it's the case that we're going to end up with the same amount of maps just being reskinned, at the very least some weather effects would make things more bearable. Next is going back to the implementation of new characters, but in a different sense. Not every character needs to be a legendary lord, some of them should just be legendary heroes. It doesn't make sense to have every single Warhammer Fantasy character implemented into the series all as leading their own armies. Some of them are born followers, and it just makes sense for them to be followers. This would see many more famous names in the Warhammer Fantasy history to be implemented into Total War Warhammer. Right off the top of my head, characters such as Luther Huss, Kurt Helborg, among many others. We've already got a few legendary hero type characters, Lord Croak, Henry le Massif, and technically Krell. Why can't we get more? And lastly for this video, naval combat. Yeah, I think a lot of people were expecting me to mention this at some point or another, considering that I've made quite a fair few videos on this. While I don't really deem it essential for the Total War Warhammer series, I honestly believe that naval combat will bring a breath of fresh air to Total War Warhammer and also bring new styles of warfare, which in turn will make players want to play more. The island battle system is good, don't get me wrong, it is okay, it works very well, and it is a good fix, but it's not naval warfare. Yes, the Total War games have been known to have quite subpar naval warfare, but at the end of the day there's a long amount of development time, so it's not like this can't be perfected. Honestly, I would really like to see this. However, I know that it's not a priority thing for the Total War team, so I'm putting it in the minor section of this list. But these are the features I want the most for Total War Warhammer 3. What do you guys think? Is there anything I might have missed that is rather important that needs to be added in the third and final game of the series? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various different social media links such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord, where you can get in contact with the Great Book team. Also in the description section below is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Using our special link and also the special code, which is also in the description below, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons, your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A special thank you to Bertsche and Gibraltar LUSC for subscribing to us at our fame level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule and VSVasan for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you guys enough. The money earned from Patreon is going directly back into the channel, slowly upgrading little bits and bobs, just trying to get to a higher level of content for you guys. And a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. The support has been insane lately, and honestly, we can't be more than excited. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.